Hey, how you doing? Justin here, back with you on your beginner journey, and today we're going to talk about a thing called guitar tab, which you've probably heard of before, right? It's the way that we write down guitar music. Many of you are probably aware that there's a thing, traditional notation, what we often call dots, which is actually really difficult to read on guitar, principally because on guitar we can play one note lots of different ways. So like the top space on a guitar stave can actually be played on the guitar here, the thinnest open string, the 5th fret on the 2nd string, the 9th fret on the 3rd string, the 14th fret on the 4th string, the 17th fret on the 5th string, and if it had a 24th fret we could play it on the 24th fret on the thicker string. So potentially 6 different ways of playing the same written notation, and that can make it a little bit difficult. In guitar tab, instead of having 5 lines like we have in normal dot notation, traditional notation, we have 6 lines, and those 6 lines represent the 6 strings on the guitar. Okay? The thickest string is at the bottom and the thinnest string is on the top. So for me, I look at it, if I lie the guitar strings down like that, then I can see the bass strings at the bottom and the treble strings at the top. You'll often see on guitar tab is written as well at the beginning of the tab, and you'll see the T is at the top where the treble strings are. The treble is the high sounds, and the bottom, the B, the bass, is where the low strings are, the bass strings. So that can be a nice way to remember as well, that the treble, the thin strings, the top sounds are at the top, and the bottom strings, the bass strings, are written at the bottom of the guitar tab. Now, on those 6 lines are written numbers, and the numbers tell you where to put your finger. They don't tell you which finger. For that you have to use a little bit of logic, or figuring it out, or being told, or just there's lots of different ways that you'll approach figuring the fingering out. But what the number tells you is the fret that you need to put a finger. Okay, so let's have a little look at a couple of examples here. First of all, we'll play the 5th fret on the thinnest string. So it's a 5 on the top line of the tab. So the top line, we know, well, that's the thinnest string. It's the 5th fret, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if there's a 5 on the top line of a tab, we would play that one note. If you see a 0, that means that you're going to play a string open, i.e. with no fingers on it. So if you saw the 3rd from the top line was a 0, so like nothing, 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 0, nothing, nothing on the 6 lines, that would be an open 3rd string. So the 3rd string with nothing on it. So you just be playing that. If you see notes that are written on top of one another, they are played at the same time. Okay, so if you were playing a chord, let's say an E chord, like this, this would be written in the tab with a 0 on the bottom line to say that string was played open, then a 2, then a 2, then a 1, then a 0, and a 0. So the top 2 lines, the highest 2 lines would both have zeros on it. The next line down will be a 1, then a 2, then a 2, then an open at the bottom. The lowest line would be that open, thickest string. There isn't any rhythm shown on guitar tab. Now, it is possible to add rhythms if you want, and sometimes I find that I do that on my own transcriptions if I'm writing a tab, but at the beginner stages, rhythm reading is often far too complicated, and it's a lot easier just to listen to a riff or a song or whatever and figure out how to play a riff that way rather than reading the rhythm. I will be explaining some basic rhythm patterns, particularly for the ones where we're strumming, so you get an understanding of what rhythms look like when you're strumming. That's a very helpful thing. But particularly for any more complicated solos, you'll find that they look way more complicated, and if you actually just listen to it, you'd be able to play it. Looking at the rhythm would probably freak you out most times. So I would recommend that you get used to reading tab as soon as you can. It's definitely one of those skill sets that you're going to find very useful if you're looking on the internet for songs or whatever, you know, music that you like, or you want to play your favorite riffs or whatever. You're going to have to learn to read tab. Now, the sooner you get familiar with it, the better. It's not a difficult system. It's very, very easy, which is possibly why guitar players like it so much. Traditional notation does have its place. If you want to play jazz or classical guitar, you would have to approach learning traditional notation. I do read notation myself, but I don't recommend it for most beginners. I just don't think it's necessary. There's a whole lot of fun you can have without it.